JD Vance has been on a global tour of humiliation, and it is not stopping yet. It is only picking up. As JD Vance was confronted on the tarmac today, not only over Donald Trump's failed ceasefire, but also the threats that Pete Hegseth and his goons made against the Pope, which is why the Pope is not just condemning this war, but those carrying it out very directly, making it clear to Pete Hegseth, to Donald Trump, and to JD Vance, people who profess their fake Christianity, although Donald Trump doesn't really do that anymore and never actually did, that they are liars, that they are killers, and that they are deeply disturbed, broken, evil people. And that is what JD Vance just could not respond to. We're going to get into it, as well as what he accidentally admitted about Donald Trump's failures, but it starts with the call out from Pope Leo. I want to start with the pontiff right here.
Senza domanda. In English, I would simply say, once again, what I said in the Urbi et Orbi message on Sunday, asking all people of goodwill to search always for peace and not violence, to reject war, especially a war which many people have said is an unjust war, which is continuing to escalate and which is not resolving anything. In fact, we have a worldwide economic crisis, energy crisis, situation in the Middle East of great instability, which is only provoking more hatred throughout the world. So come back to the table, let's talk, let's look for solutions in a peaceful way, and let's remember especially the innocent, children, the elderly, the sick, so many people who have already become or will become victims of this continued warfare. To remind all that attacks on civilian infrastructure is against international law, but that it is also a sign of the hatred, the division, the destruction that the human being is capable of. And we all want to work for peace. People want peace. I would invite the citizens of all the countries involved to contact the authorities, political leaders, congressmen, to ask them, tell them to work for peace and to reject war always. Thank you very much.
I remember when Carolyn Levitt first responded to what Pope Leo had to say about this war, that God does not answer the prayer of those who wage war. And Carolyn Levitt responded saying, oh, so God's not going to answer the prayers of the troops, the 50,000 men that we're sending to the Middle East? No, Carolyn, it's not about that. Just because they are being forced to go to the Middle East to potentially die for the Epstein class doesn't mean that that was their decision. There's lots of people who have enlisted to serve this country because of financial reasons. There are lots of people who have enlisted to serve this country and want to serve this country for patriotic reasons. But what Donald Trump is doing is not patriotic. It is not about defense. It is about serving Israel. It's about serving the Epstein class. It's about making a buck, and it's doing it using working class men and women who Donald Trump doesn't care about. He is not saying, Pope Leo, that the Lord does not answer their prayers, but the prayers of people like Carolyn Levitt, who her crucifix probably burns her on the daily. It's you. It is you who send people to die in useless war. That is who it is. And so often you have seen the MAGA Christo-fascists use the troops in our military as kind of this wedge, saying, oh, you don't want to spend $200, $400, $1.5 trillion? You don't want to spend that sending young men and women to die in war? Oh, you hate the troops. No, we don't want them to die for Israel. And that's what you want. And that is what God will not answer prayers to. The people who send our men and women to die for Israel, who mass murder, who threaten genocide. That is what it's about. And JD Vance was confronted over not just that reality, but the threats that reportedly have been made to officials in the Catholic Church via Pete Hegseth, that this administration that has declared their war on Iran a holy one that God has somehow signed off on to Pete Hegseth in one of his, drunken blazes, they're threatening them. And of course, JD Vance was asked about it, completely broke down.
Okay, X has been abuzz the last couple of days with the Free Press story saying that senior Pentagon officials in January, including Rich Colby, brought Cardinal Pierre into the Pentagon.
Brought who?
Cardinal Christophe Pierre
Okay.
into the Pentagon.
I haven't seen the story,
Okay,
unfortunately.
And essentially, the reporting by the Free Press is that they told him that the American military has a lot of might and they can do whatever they want, and the church should get on its side. Does that message sound correct to you? Is that something you would sign off on?
So one, I with no disrespect to the Cardinal, I don't know who Cardinal Christophe Pierre is.
He's the ambassador to the Holy See in the U.S.
Oh, okay. I do. I've met him before. Sorry, I just didn't remember the name. I've never seen this reporting. I'd like to actually talk to Cardinal Christophe Pierre and, frankly, to our people to figure out what actually happened. I think it's always a bad idea to offer an opinion on stories that are unconfirmed and uncorroborated, so I'm not going to do that.
Just a complete non-answer from JD Vance, and that is unsurprising. This guy is such a LARPer. He's such a fake, such a phony. JD Vance is not religious. He's writing a book about it. He likes to justify his bad behavior, to say the least, by pretending that he's a guy of deep faith. And it's because that's the last thing he has is real faith and belief or grounding principles in anything. All JD Vance does is flip-flop, and that is the opposite of faith. JD Vance does not have a worldview. JD Vance has a singular view, and that is, how can I possibly get to the White House? That is all I want. I also think it's funny that so often you hear justifications for our war on Iran, our slaughter of innocent Iranians, by saying that these people are dangerous religious extremists, casting with a broad brush the entire Middle East. What is Pete Hegseth? He is a dangerous religious extremist. So is JD Vance. If Donald Trump had ever opened a Bible, I would say the same of him. He certainly uses religion to justify his disgusting actions, or at least convinces his dumbass followers that he cares enough. But that is partially what JD Vance did in this clip right here, and his wild admission about Donald Trump, the state of this war, and just how stupid everyone or trying to orchestrate it is.
Well, first of all, I know there's been some conversations between the Israelis and the leadership of our country today. I haven't been involved in that because I've been busy doing stuff in Hungary. I'm actually supposed to get an update when I get on the plane. But let me say a couple things. First of all, I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't.
So I think Vance thought he was getting off a pretty good line there, saying that there was a misunderstanding, a miscommunication about Lebanon. And when JD Vance says that there's a miscommunication about Lebanon, the miscommunication he's referring to is the fact that 1 million people have been displaced by Israel, that thousands have been bombed, killed. It's just disgusting, harmed, injured, what is happening right now in southern Lebanon, and it is because the Zionist ideology is one of violence to preserve itself as an illegitimate state. This is the truth. And so JD Vance saying that this is a miscommunication, what do you mean? That first of all isn't true. It's not like this is a small slip up. There has been constant bombing of people in Lebanon, and Iran made it clear they wanted that part as part of the deal, the end to Israel's strikes on Lebanon. And why? Because Iran knows, as well as you and I do, that the only real solution to lasting peace in the Middle East is to stop Israel's ability to continue its territorial expansion, to a dissolution of the apartheid state is necessary. If they continue to have both offensive and defensive weapons, they will use them to attack other countries and defend themselves and continue illegally stealing and occupying land that is not theirs. Right? That is the only way, stopping that, to actually bring peace to the Middle East. If America is not arming this neo-colonial project, then maybe we can see peace in the region. But that is why Iran did not want Israel to be able to continue to bomb Lebanon as a part of this agreement. That is why. And so Vance saying that, we didn't really know that this is in the deal, first of all, he's lying. Second of all, if he's not, that is a wild admission about how stupid Donald Trump is and how dumb everyone orchestrating these negotiations are, because that would mean that they didn't know what they were agreeing to when Donald Trump called it the greatest deal of all time. And they said that this was going to secure the strait for us. Everything was going to be fine. Peace was on the horizon. If you didn't know that this was a major stipulation, then you're a dummy. And that's what JD Vance is admitting, that they are a bunch of dummies. And you know what? MAGA media has largely ate it up because, of course, they have. I want to get into some MAGA media outrage and response in just a second from our dear, hated friend, Meghan R. Kelly. But I do also want to point out that JD Vance was initially supposed to be a part of these negotiations. Donald Trump has since benched him. He's bounced him. He's kicked him out of those negotiations because Vance continues to leak to the press about how he's just not really that supportive of this war, and you can tell in the way that he approaches it. But neither is MAGA. MAGA doesn't like this. Listen to, again, Megyn R. Kelly, as we'll always call her, just articulating, one, the most blatant hypocrisy, but these two clips back to back just show how brain dead these people are.
I mean, honestly, Trump could drop a nuke and I'd still vote Republican over those people because
You're
they want
a Fifth Avenue voter.
In some ways, I really am. But honestly, what they want to do is nuke our own country. Now, as you can imagine, that post did not go over well with the Iranians or with many Americans. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, 380, yes, shut up.
Megyn, so do you have a problem with the nukes or not? Because you got to pick a side. Do you like the idea of the president of the United States threatening genocide? Because you had just laughed about it. That clip was from a day earlier. And then Megyn Kelly actually sees Donald Trump say he wants to eradicate an entire civilization. He's like, she's like, I think I have a problem with this. You shouldn't even joke about it. It's not funny. These people have no real worldview. Why Megyn Kelly responded the way that she did is not because she thought it was a morally gross statement to make. It's because she read the room. That is what these people do. People like Tucker, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, people like Nancy Mace, they are reading the room right now. They will go along with it, with what's popular, which is why it is so incumbent upon us, and I know they're reading the MAGA room, but to set an agenda that facilitates actual accountability. Because if they think that that is beneficial for their career, they'll do it. And that includes calling out Donald Trump's cognitive decline. Megyn Kelly got close, but I think Lawrence O'Donnell painted the perfect picture.
This is evil. He has gone insane. Our president is not a Christian. There has never been the slightest evidence that Donald Trump is, in any real sense, a Christian. There's nothing religious about him. He never goes to church. He didn't go to church yesterday on Easter. There's never been the slightest evidence that Donald Trump comprehends any of the teachings of Jesus. He certainly never heard the part about turn the other cheek.
The dude is loopy. He's done. He's in decline. He's out of it. He's confused all the time. 25th Amendment now. I'm tired of people saying in Congress, oh, well, we don't know, it might not work, impeachment. No, have some moral backbone. Stand for something. We are certainly going to on this show, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.